Good morning and welcome to week 6 of our prayer journey here at Tranium. This is our halfway point already. I hope this has been meaningful for you. It certainly has been for me as I have re-engaged with some of these prayer practices or tried them in new and different ways. So today's prayer practice is the practice of creativity, and this is one of my favorite prayer practices. It's one that is gaining a growing part in my own life. It's one that begins to involve a little bit more of ourselves. It's not just a mind prayer or a speech prayer. It begins to involve other parts of our bodies. It's one that pairs easily with some of the other prayer practices, and so it gives us an even fuller experience sometimes. And this is one that I particularly recommend when what people are struggling with is grief. Grief of after losing a loved one or losing an important relationship, even losing a job. So when you have a deep sense of loss, this is a prayer practice that can be particularly helpful, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So creativity as a prayer practice is one that connects us to God as creator. God has created the entire universe through speech. God spoke the world and all that's in it into being. God creates from nothing and brings about beauty and elegance and sophistication, and that includes us. And so I love this quote from Daniel Wolpert's book, Creating a Life with God. It says, "We yearn to create. As we turn in prayer to God, the great creator who made heaven and earth, we become vessels of creative energy and desire. We long to give expression to the gift we have received, and as we do so, the act of creation becomes a prayer in itself, a way to seek union with the one who sustains our very being." As a creative being of God, we are designed then to be creative. We are invited into God's creative processes and God's creative work in the world. And so this prayer practice is one in which we can do that. So what does this look like? Well, I'm going to get personal with you today. You may know that just less than a month ago, I lost my mom. And as often happens when we lose someone important in our lives, there's so much to process and so many emotions. She'd been sick for a very long time, and so there was a sense of relief, but still this final sense of loss. And I struggled in those first few days trying to process all that. And so what I did is I engaged in the creativity as a prayer practice. And I am not one who considers myself creative in any artistic sense, but I did something that anybody could do, and that's I colored. And this is getting really popular, the adult coloring. But I simply colored in, and you can kind of see, a Bible verse. "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me." And so this was a practice where not only the act of being creative and putting color onto paper, but meditating on this verse was a really powerful experience for me. It brought me comfort. It gave me a sense of peace. It helped me feel God's presence in a really difficult time. And so that is what it looks like. It can be that simple. Just putting color onto paper. Another way that we see this, particular in Tranium, is we have a group of people that make prayer shawls. As they engage in the practice of knitting, which is a creative practice, they're praying and meditating as they knit and as they do that. So any kind of creative practice can work here. Art, music, poetry, crafts, needle arts, sewing, knitting, crocheting, also things like woodworking, even landscaping. But I would challenge you to really blow open the definition of what creativity is. So if you are creating a meal at night to feed your family, pray through that process. Pray through the selection of ingredients. Pray through the process of assembling the ingredients. And then pray as you put that meal on the table for your family. If you're at work and you're creating a PowerPoint, pray through that process. Pray through your work as you begin to select backgrounds and text for each of your slides. There's so many things that we can do in life that are creative that we're already doing, that it's not hard to simply add some prayer time to it. This is also a great practice that you can do as a family. This is something you can do at any age, and so this is a great cross-generational prayer practice. And you can do it as a group. And so I brought an example of that as well. This is something we did a couple years ago. We had a prayer station, and we had broken pieces of pottery, and people were invited to pick up a piece of pottery and to think about our own brokenness, and then to put that brokenness onto the cross. And in that creative process, we made this, we created this beautiful cross as we think about God taking our brokenness to the cross and creating new life and creating beauty out of the things that we find difficult. So there is just lots of options with this one, lots of ways to engage in this prayer practice. I hope that everyone will try this one in whatever way works for you. And again, expand your imagination and your definition of creativity. But if you are looking for some other structure and direction and how to go about this prayer practice, please let me know. I'm always happy to help and always looking for your feedback on this process. Have a blessed day and blessings in your creativity.